And we say hello, and I'm proud to welcome in Linda Luther, who is the widow of our next recipient, Cal Luther, a historically great college basketball coach. And Linda, you were there for many of those years, and we're going to touch on that. You met him after he left Valpo. He played for Valpo in the late 40s into the early 50s. First off, congratulations to the Luthers on Cal getting into the Hall of Fame at Valpo.
Oh, thank you. The family is just so excited about this. The only downside of that is that he's not here to accept this award, and but we do treasure this. Will always treasure this.
Cal, you didn't know Cal obviously when he was at Valpo, but he spoke fondly of the university.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. Any place we went, he always let them know that he was, from, from that he had graduated from Valpo.
All
And,
right, go
well,
ahead.
and he stayed in touch for many years with friends that he had made, while he was there. In fact, I was telling your athletic director the other day that even late in life, when he probably shouldn't have been driving, he attended a couple of the homecoming events or class reunions, and would come back and tell me all kinds of stories about seeing his old girlfriend or some of his, people that had played basketball with him. And so he just truly, and he was so excited. Uh, when Luke Gore became one of the assistant coaches there.
We're going to talk about. We'll get back to Luke Gore because I talked to Luke Gore, and we'll get back to that in a second. I want to kind of run down his timetable. Uh, Freshman coach at Illinois and Champaign. Then he first head coaching job was in Indiana at DePaul in Southern Indiana, where he was there for 4 years. Then his career really took off at Murray State, where he had tremendous success, and that's where eventually you met him, kind of at the end of his coaching career when he was the athletic director later on throughout the 70s. And why don't you can share with us how you did meet him at Murray State?
Oh, oh goodness. You want me to tell you the story that I told?
Maybe there's the little story about how you've met him for the
Well,
first time.
I was a non-traditional student who, and Murray State was close to Tennessee, to where I was, and my aunt and uncle had graduated from there. So I had already had a year in community college, and they wanted me to go ahead and uh, finish my degree, and I wanted to, of course. So I went to Murray, and while I was there, they didn't have a reciprocal program. I would have had to pay in-state tuition, so I mean out-of-state tuition, and so I worked for about 6 months or 9 months, and I ended up taking a job as a student in the athletic office with Coach Fred Overton, who had been Cal.
After Cal had stepped down, stayed on as athletic director, Fred Overton was the head coach, and you were working for him.
And so I was working for him. And so anyway, we had to take some letters for him to sign down to the office. And I was a little bit older. And as I told you that Cal, some of the younger workers, they never wanted to go to the head office, you know. And I said, well, I'll be glad to take that down and have him sign it for you. And so anyway, I walked down there, and that's the first time I'd ever seen him, but he was sitting back at his desk, and I looked at him and he looked at me, and that was pretty much it. I mean, I liked him and I guess he liked me. But what I didn't tell you was that at the same time, uh, his mother had just passed away that he was very close to, and my father had just passed away that I was very close to, and that's really how we started talking about that, and we got through that ordeal by talking to each other about it. So it was a very friendship, so.
And then you went with him when he got back into coaching. He left the athletic director's job at at Murray, and he went to Longwood, which was a Division II program at that point in Virginia, now a Division I program. But that was your first foray as the wife of a basketball coach, right? At Longwood.
I guess so. But we loved Longwood and loved all the coaches there. The coaches were all younger than Cal was, and so I think when they first saw him, they thought, "Oh my, he's not gonna last that long," or whatever, but they ended up being some of our best friends, and we still we to this day, I could call on them and they would come. And they have done podcasts where they said exactly what I just said to you about when they first met Cal, but they said he became their mentor and made them better coaches because of his work ethics and morals, and so
He coached Jerome Kersey, who ended up being an NBA All-Star, which was
oh my
at Longwood. It was unusual that a Division II player would eventually be an NBA All-Star, but
well,
had to be one of if not the greatest player he ever coached, right?
yes, and see, Cal knew everybody in coaching, and he was a NCAA uh, coaching, card carrying coach for 65 years. So he always went to the Final Four. He knew everybody. Well, he knew Marty Blake, who was one of the head talent scouts. And so he never bothered him about anything. But with Jerome, he called Marty and said, Marty, I've got this kid that I think is worth you taking a look at. And so Marty said, "Well, right now, coach, my roster's full for over at Hampton City. They somewhere on the beach over there, Virginia Beach. They were going to have a talent thing." And so he said, he said, "I'll let you know if someone cancels." And sure enough, someone canceled. And we drove Jerome Kersey because he lived with his grandparents. He didn't have any money. We drove him over there, and I think Cal gave him $50 to have some money. And then Cal went back and got him, and then he moved. Marty said, "Well, he played pretty good. I see what you're talking about, Cal. We're having another camp, and I want him to come to that one." And he did. He excelled at that one, and so that's when that he took him in. So
And I think we could talk all day. We're gonna try to condense this here. I want to get real quick to the final years in coaching. He had 10 good years at Tennessee Martin. He actually was a coach of the year at Murray many times in the OVC and at Tennessee Martin. He's the only one to be the coach of the year at two different schools in the OVC and second most wins. And then he basically looked like he'd retired from coaching. And then a job opened at Bethel of Tennessee because the coach left right before the start of the season. They needed somebody. And you had mentioned Luke Gore was a longtime assistant at Valpo. He said they just needed a coach. And somebody took a shot and said, Cal, you're basically retired now, but can you come for one more year to coach at Bethel? And he did. He asked for almost no money. He was close enough in the area. And I will say, I heard that year at Bethel was a fantastic year. And Luke Gore did tell me in that 8 months, he learned more about life from Cal Luther than anybody he'd ever met in that short period of time.
oh, that's sweet. Luke was one of his favorite players. He loved them all, but Luke stayed in touch with Cal for a long time, and actually he had a picture that he just treasured on his wall, and it was of five wolves, and I don't know who the artist was, but anyway, after he totally retired and was ill, I said, well, we need to do something with that picture. And he said, "I want Luke Gore to have that," because that was his team, or the Wolf. He said, "You gotta have motivation and, be aggressive and all that." So he said, "Send that to him and, tell him what I said about it." And so Luke called Cal and thanked him. He said that was just it was like a Christmas present, that he would treasure it always. So I hope he still has it.
Linda, we thank you so much, and we congratulate you and the Luther family on Cal's induction into the Valpo Hall of Fame.
Well, thank you so much. We're so honored. And I tell you, he was such a wonderful, wonderful person. I truly was lucky and blessed to have had him as my husband. I miss him every day, every minute of every day. But there's sort of God winks throughout the day that I know he's with me. So he would be so honored and thrilled by this award and being remembered, after this length of time too, because he did love Valpo.